remember it very clearly. A crisp, fresh fall day. We were outside, and I was running around in delighted yet spastic circles on the asphalt. There was laughter, untied shoelaces, and an "oh no!" along with splitting my lip open, being rushed to the hospital, and learning absolutely nothing regarding personal safety. I instead began to learn something that made people happy. Something that would eventually become like a second language to me. Comedy. Fast forward to 6th grade. Acne-infested me just barely figuring out that we, middle schoolers, are almost like a completely different breed in terms of humor. So, I inevitably adjusted, and this is when I encountered a social puzzle. That we have been laughing less. Not just at me, but at everything. We've been becoming more serious and getting more offended, thus deeming my and many others' long-spoken second language of comedy irrelevant. Today, I follow in the footsteps of the internet and the polio vaccine and make our lives a whole lot easier. And by that, I mean I strive to persuade and inform you why our sense of humor is not only getting dumber, but thinner, and why we must fix this. And in order to fix society's monotonous and ever-shrinking sense of humor, you need to know first what the issue is, and I am not referring to 5 consecutive D's in Spanish. Next, we must overcome our struggle for bilingualism, and finally, we must learn to speak the language of oversensitivity. And by the end, you will have learned to speak a language that's not boring, not repetitive, and most importantly, not French. In this day and age, when you can search literally anything while simultaneously ranting on your Reddit community, whether it be about why the moon landing was faked or the Denver airport is a hub for the Illuminati, it's no secret that people are overly sensitive. And this sensitivity has made us feel like almost anything we say, any joke we conjure, will be taken the wrong way. Granted, America doesn't seem to be able to agree on a lot. Election candidates, but we can all agree that waking up on Mondays sucks. But laughter can help with that. No, seriously, hear me out. A study conducted by the Mayo Clinic has determined that, quote, laughter releases endorphins, which, in turn, relieves stress and calms pain. Perfect! Almost everything you need to get through that dreadful Monday morning, but hey, look on the bright side, Mondays only happen once a week. 52 weeks in a year, every year, for what? Your entire life? And while I was rethinking the meaning of life, something hit me like puberty in 6th grade. This offended response to jokes is now often the aftermath of overexposure to oversensitivity, hypersensitivity, modern culture, or pretty much anything on social media. Because hypersensitivity spreads faster than that blistering rash on your arm you've had since your trip to that weird petting zoo. You should probably have that checked out. Seldom do people seem to know this, and even fewer have the courage to actually try and act on it. Meanwhile, those of us who do get treated a bit like the week-old, cross-contaminated Thanksgiving turkey leftovers. Now, I don't mean to sound like a substitute teacher just trying to survive the last day of school when I say this, but if we didn't learn how to joke, the entire world will most certainly end in nuclear war and death, and biblical Hebrew will begin to be taught again. I'm kidding! Sort of, but seriously, I want you to try and remember the last time you laughed. Not just giggled, but laughed. Bladder leaker laugh. Embarrassing piglet snore kind of laugh. And it's more than likely this doesn't occur too often, but when it does, you forget all about your worries, your issues, and, if it's funny enough, the giant zit on your forehead. The things that make us laugh until our social insecurities go away are a bit like my father's hairline. Still there, but receding. Very quickly, very drastically. One cause of the diminishment of humor is, well, memes. Let's face it, we've all spent a couple of solid hours scrolling through the endless void of internet memes. Whether it be during lectures from your parents, family reunions, or, in my case, 6th period math class, we've all done it. And whether you choose to accept it or not, you don't laugh at most of what you see. And the few things you do laugh at are exactly that, Phew! Which has redefined the term lol. Now, lol basically just means that we are acknowledging the fact that the meme exists. Yeah, a bit like the fruitcake. You're on Hagatha sent you last year. You see it there, but you don't dare do anything with it. In fact, the only thing that ends up happening is bickering about who has to throw it away when she's not looking. But as much as you hate to admit it, bickering leads to disagreements. Disagreements leads to tension. Tension leads to fights, and fights leads to lawsuits. So, in a way, the future of humanity does kind of depend on whether or not we relearn how to joke. Don't think this is an issue yet? Well, stand-up comedian Jeff Ross would sincerely disagree with you. Because he was attacked when he made a joke about Justin Bieber's perfume brand Girlfriend in 2015. What did he say? Well, that's not gangster enough, Justin. Not even that funny. 3 years, and albeit much like Justin Bieber's decision to become a celebrity a long time ago, he still hasn't heard the end of it. And this issue is becoming more and more common. Not just Justin Bieber's bad haircuts, but a comedian making a joke, somebody taking it the wrong way, and the comedian beginning to make a little more than a Louisiana elementary school teacher, but a little less than a McDonald's employee. Because as published authors Jake Solomon and Daniel Rohr so eloquently state in their 2019 report, quote, the majority of jokes that are perceived as offensive don't offend their target. Rather, others hear the joke and think they would be offended if the joke was about them. But I'm not saying there aren't jokes that cross the line. Some jokes do. Okay, a lot of jokes do. That is when it is both acceptable and necessary to get a little offended. But the line that jokes cross in order to be considered offensive has unnecessarily moved further back than that antisocial kid at lunch. The joke made is cruel and unusual. Obviously not okay, or just stupid. Don't do it. It's a bit like putting the toilet paper the wrong way. Don't do it. There are times where jokes are appropriate and times where jokes are really not needed. It may take a while to be able to distinguish when to make a joke and when to bite your tongue, but once you've practiced enough, it becomes easier than putting the toilet paper the right way, which is, of course, facing forward. No, not on top of the toilet seat. Thank you very much, Uncle Albert. Yes, today we've made small steps for man and giant comedic leaps for mankind. Now, we're at that point where you're tired of listening to me ramble on about why we need to loosen up, man. So, I'll leave you with a few last words. A solution begins with you. Don't be afraid to be random, to be edgy, and to be loud. Even if it's just a knock-knock joke, or if it's a full-fledged comedy act, you can be funny. And I know it's been trivialized a lot, but sometimes we take a moment out of our day to stop and laugh. You could change somebody's life. You could lift somebody out of rock bottom because you thought what they said was funny. Well then, you have learned to speak a dialect that desperately needs to return. You have learned to speak my second language.
Yay, Alex!